In today's video, we're going to be discussing the top 10 prospects for the upcoming 2018 NHL Entry Draft. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and analyze all 31 NHL teams as well as international hockey. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So let's take a look at the top prospects for the 2018 NHL Entry Draft being held this summer in Dallas, Texas. This draft is definitely going to be known as the Rasmus Dahlin Draft. Dahlin is the consensus #1 overall pick. You can't find a scout anywhere that hasn't ranked anywhere but #1. If you look back to the rankings and the prospects back in the fall, he was #1 as well then, but the #2 player at the time, Svechnikov, was expected to kind of give him a shot at maybe rivaling him to be the top pick. But at this point in time, things have changed, and Dahlin has definitely separated himself from the rest of the pack, including Svechnikov, and is a general consensus #1. Now, right now, I'd be surprised come this summer if the rankings change at all, at least at this spot in the draft. I can't imagine any of these players overtaking him to be the #1 overall pick. I mean, you just never know. But at this point, I mean, he's just had too good a showing so far this season to be anywhere else but #1. He was voted top defenseman at the World Junior Championships, and he's going to be representing his country again, Team Sweden, at the upcoming Winter Olympics. That should be a fantastic experience for him, and yet another opportunity for him to showcase his talents to the world coming up here in a few weeks' time. So Dahlin, if you haven't had a chance to watch the kid play, you definitely need to go through YouTube here and do some searching. There's all kinds of highlights and whatnot you can find of him. He's a fantastic player and is expected to be a generational type defenseman that can certainly change the face of the franchise. So whoever gets the #1 overall pick this summer is going to be one lucky team, and it could change their team's fortunes very, very quickly. The #2 overall consensus right now is Andrei Svechnikov, a right winger out of Russia who is currently playing for the Barrie Colts in the OHL. Svechnikov certainly is quite a sniper and can score lots of goals. Didn't have the greatest showing at the World Junior Championships, but he was part of Team Russia at that tournament. But I don't really think a lot of that had to do with his talents per se. I think I was just a little bit disappointed and underwhelmed with his utilization by the team. But then again, the team did some, some questionable moves, and they just seemed to be a lot of questions on the coaching staff with their team strategies and how they played at this tournament, in my opinion. But Svechnikov didn't really get the greatest opportunity to really showcase his talents at that tournament like a lot of people were hoping. He did do pretty well though, and averaged almost a point a game, but at the same time, he didn't do enough to kind of really catch up to Dahlin. There's still quite a gap there, as I mentioned. Dahlin is quite a ways ahead of Svechnikov, and at this point, some of the other players that are ranked 3 through 5, I think actually have a shot to catch up to Svechnikov, and it is possible between now and the end of the year before the draft happens that we might see these players ranked 2 through 5 change spots a little bit, and depending on what team picks and what slot at the draft, you might see a little bit of maneuvering here up and down. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Some of these guys are a little bit interchangeable depending on what you value more or what your team might need more going forward. But Andrei Svechnikov of the Barrie Colts, he's a Russian sniper playing in the OHL, is certainly right now projected to be #2. Right now, the #3 ranked prospect for the NHL Entry Draft is Philip Zadina from the Czech Republic, playing for the Halifax Mooseheads. He is quite a sniper as well. Probably, he just might be the best pure goal scorer here in the top 5. He probably definitely has the best shot, and he certainly showcased his talents at the World Junior Championships as well for Team Czech Republic. Even though the Czech Republic team didn't have the greatest showing, he was certainly a big bright spot for them, and this guy has a lot of talent. Where he plays in the QMJHL, I've had an opportunity to see him play, and he is a very special talent, and I wouldn't be completely shocked to see him go #2, as I mentioned before. But depending on what the team needs between Svechnikov, Zadina, and a couple of the other guys coming up here, I wouldn't be surprised to see them change positioning. But right now, if anybody has a shot to move up to #2, I think it's probably Philip Zadina. He's certainly going to be a special player and a pure sniper in the NHL level. The #4 talent right now, it's #4 prospect that is Brady Tkachuk, playing in Boston University in the U.S. Tkachuk is the younger brother of Matthew Tkachuk, who are both the sons of NHL legend Keith Tkachuk. Obviously, Keith Tkachuk had a fantastic NHL career, and his boys are following suit as well. Obviously, Brady is touted to be the slightly bigger and stronger version of Matthew, who also has a little bit more scoring touch. Now, Brady had a tremendous showing for Team USA at the World Junior Championships, and I think we've definitely seen his stock rise a little bit at the time. But depending on what the teams need, depending on where they're drafting, I've heard some analysts or scouts have Tkachuk as high as number 2. If you take all the scouts' reports that kind of go into ranking these prospects, he ended up at number 4. But at the same time, he's not number 4 on everybody's list. Same with Zadina. I think either of those guys could possibly unseat Svechnikov, and we might see either of those guys anywhere go from 2, 3, or 4. They're all top talents, and I think any team would be lucky to have them. They seem to be as close as you can get to a sure thing in the NHL to be a superstar. Of course, you just never know how players develop, and things can certainly change over time. But it seems like there's a lot of teams here that are going to be getting a fantastic player here, ranked in the top 10 for sure. Now, if you take a look at the number 5 pick, we're looking at Adam Boqvist, another defensive prospect out of Sweden. Sweden certainly seems to be putting out great defensemen lately. Boqvist is certainly expected to go in the top 5, but there is a lot of D-men here in the top 10. Out of the top 10, I believe there is 6 defensemen. But Boqvist is another player for Sweden on the defensive side of the game who certainly can. He's a smaller player, but he can certainly rack up the offense. He's a good puck-moving defenseman, and he's another player to keep your eye out for. Depending on, he's probably going to be the second defenseman to go in this draft. So depending on how those other forwards that I just mentioned do and what the team in that position needs, if there's a team in the 3 or 4 spot that really wants more of a defenseman, and Boqvist is probably going to be the player to move up. So we're probably going to see 2 Swedish defensemen go here in the top 5. That wouldn't surprise me at all, but there's certainly going to be quite a crop of defensemen in the top 10. I mean, we could see a few of them drop down a little bit, but we're going to see a lot of defensemen go here in the first round. Now, the number 6 defenseman is Quinn Hughes from the USA. He also had another great showing at the World Junior Championships. Quinn Hughes is playing for Michigan. He's another, like Boqvist, he's a smaller sized defenseman, but he's quick and he's good at moving the puck up the ice. So he's certainly expected to go quite high as well. The number 7 prospect's another defenseman, this one from the OHL London Knights, Evan Bouchard. Bouchard's very offensive, averaging close to a point a game in the OHL. He's another top defenseman. There's going to be all kinds of defensive, puck-moving defensemen here, as I mentioned, that are going to go in the first round. And there's obviously, it's one of those things in today's NHL, size isn't so much as important as it used to be, as is quickness and speed and ability. If you're a defenseman, you have to be able to move that puck up the ice quickly and efficiently, and all these guys at this point seem capable of doing that. So Bouchard's yet another one who falls into that category and is certainly expected at this rate. He's ranked number 7, so he should stay in the top 10 come the summertime. Now, number 8 is Noah Dobson, another defenseman playing for Acadie Bathurst in the QMJHL. Dobson is a pretty much bigger player than Boqvist or Hughes. He's already 6'2.5" and averaging over a point a game. So he's a bigger version of those guys, and he can produce just as much offense. Now, the other guys are probably a little bit quicker, so it kind of depends on what you value. But I know there's still a lot of NHL teams that obviously size isn't as important as it used to be. As I said, a lot of teams value speed and quickness and puck moving ability from the back end especially to be just as important nowadays. But at the same time, if you can put size and still have those other qualities as well, then you're more likely going to see that player be ranked ahead. So the fact that Dobson right now is number 8 is a little bit surprising. I wouldn't be completely shocked, depending on how the rest of his season goes, to see him move up a little bit. And if a team values him, his size and his ability to produce offense a little bit more than a player like Dobson or Bouchard or Hughes or whatnot, he could move up the ranks and move right up into the maybe 5, 6, 7 spot. Wouldn't be surprised to see him move up at all, where he's a bigger player and is very offensive as well. Number 9, we've got Oliver Wahlstrom from the USHL, who's a center iceman, averaging more than a point a game, 45 points in 34 games right now. He's probably the top center in this draft. The other forwards mentioned in the top 5 are all wingers. You get Svechnikov and Zadina are both right wingers. Tkachuk mainly plays the left wing, but he can play the right side as well. So Wahlstrom's your top center iceman so far in this draft. Obviously, as we know, center icemen come in a premium, and there's going to be some more center icemen as well later in the first round. I just didn't want to spend too much time in this video. I thought for today we'd focus on the top 10. Number 10, we've got Ty Smith, another defenseman of the Spokane Chiefs in the Western Hockey League. He is averaging just shy of a point per game, 44 points in 46 games played. So there's certainly all kinds of offensively gifted defensemen. Some of them are a little bit smaller, but we get 6 out of 10 that are defensemen in the top 10 right now. So it looks like it's going to be one of those drafts where the rear guards are at a premium here. And now obviously we've had drafts like this before where the defensemen were the dominant players in the first round. And obviously you got to be careful who you pick, because the likelihood of all of them becoming top NHL defensemen are pretty slim, even though they all look good at this point in their careers. It's just, statistically speaking, isn't likely going to happen. But we certainly have a pretty good mix here. We've got players from Sweden, we've got players from Russia, Czech Republic, a couple of Americans, a few Canadians. So we have a very diverse group of players here from all parts of the hockey world. So it looks like we're going to have a very deep and talented draft this year in 2018. All the teams that are going to be picking in the top 10 have an excellent shot at getting a top, potentially franchise player, especially ones picking in the top 5. If you look at those teams right now, the bottom 5 of the league between Buffalo and Arizona and Ottawa, Detroit, Montreal, Edmonton, Vancouver, all those teams near the bottom, obviously they're not going to pick in the same order that they finished because of the draft lottery, but they certainly have an excellent shot at getting an excellent top player who can squeeze into their lineup fairly fast and hopefully change the face of their franchise. Don't forget as well to follow us on social media. You're going to see our link to our Twitter account right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. All of those links to our social media accounts are all in the description below, so certainly check those out. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.